If something needs normalizing, then it wasn't normal in the first place, and I don't want to mention directly what this is pointing towards, but I think most level-thinking minds will get a good idea of the things trying to be pushed in society as normal, which we don't agree with, but slowly we are being brainwashed into believing it's normal. I don't think it's a secret anymore that secret societies have a major role in shaping the world we live in from the shadows. Let's face it, they have always existed and always will, but when these societies hold such vast amounts of influence and power without any consequences for their actions when they mess up, it's a major problem for the everyday person. Who is meant to put trust in its government and intelligence agencies to maintain control, keep them safe, and guide their country for the greater good, not the greed of the few? By them being so secret, it also runs a risk of you never knowing when a foreign intelligence or other society could infiltrate them and control them from within. It's also very easy to see that many people in positions of power and influence have sold out, not realizing your actions have a ripple effect on shaping the minds of the masses, as well as the media having the power to make an innocent man guilty and guilty man innocent without any care in the world how it affects anyone's life. Where information isn't about truth or how it will affect someone's life, but simply to push a narrative that suits a few people's agenda and makes a profit. I think we have lost the times when men would protect women and children with their lives, even if that meant fighting against the people who were there to protect us. We are living in a world where organized crime is wrong, but organized corruption is not even considered a possibility, and manipulation is a new truth no matter the harm it causes. Where gaslighting has become a major part of breaking people down who pose a threat to the powers that be, we have vast amounts of people living in poverty where compared to the 1980s, the average wage takes you in some places of the country 4 times longer to buy a house. Without the inflation of everyday shopping, energy, fuel, and so many other monthly things we have to spend on. Whereas the older generation tells the younger generation we are lazy when we are working just as much as we did, sometimes more, for 4 times less value in pay compared to the cost of living. The power that be no depression was mainly a used thing in recent history after the Great Depression, so we know depression is directly linked to lack of money causing a suppression in what you can do. It's no surprise we have a major problem with mental health, especially in men who are being made to work their lives away with nothing to show for it. When hard work should be rewarded with a livable wage, we shouldn't need a household where 2 people have to work just to get by, causing kids to not have the right support at home because parents are so busy with just being able to live. The younger generation is facing even less hope than the ones before them. We have a major problem with knife crime, and on the other hand, we have some who don't know if they are a boy or a girl. Along with declining mental health, we are giving signal blockers, rather than fixing the direct issues which are causing such mental health among the youth. Now, I believe we are truly living in a very selfish world which is bred off poverty and is the most damaging factor of society. I truly believe we are living in a state of insanity to act as if the world could not be better than it is given all the technology we have and money spent on wars. I mean, what is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results? How many decades have we been doing the same thing over and over again and we have the same results? It's either done by design or the world leaders have no idea how to use the technology we have to make a better world. I guess why would we want another world when it's benefiting the people at the top just fine? Tupac, who was for sure wise, before his time said 2 things that stick with me: there shouldn't be billionaires when there are people with no home at all. And I will add to it, with billionaires, you can see already is too much money and power for one person to have, which is why they are always brought into the secret societies, because one billionaire can do a lot of things with the right mind and connections. I have no issues with success, but it eventually becomes ethically wrong when the gap between poverty is how it is. Sometimes these rich people suffer from bad mental health simply because they're not doing the right thing with their wealth. You'll be surprised how much helping someone mends your soul. Now, the criminal world is a strange one because the rich areas of a country often have next to no policing among the people that live there. After all, crime isn't as present when you're all rich. I don't think anyone in particular wants to commit a crime, but it is bred from poverty and illegal substances, and often carries on from generation to generation. And would it ever end? Probably not, as there are good and bad people in the world. I mean, everyone wants to rule the world, right? There's always going to be people who want to just take if they can, so we would always need a police force, but we need a police force which is there to hold not just poor people accountable, but also need to hold the people higher up in society accountable. I think places like the police force are also a place where they are not paid the money they should be paid, which if they were, would hold back corruption, and also we could have a two-force policing system independent of each other, so they are always competing with one another to keep the police force responsible. Now, I grew up a certain way, and it often seems like it's just normal that everyone hates the police. Some will have a reason to, some won't. But it kind of sits in the same group as racism. Where is it okay to hate a whole force because of a bad experience? I think we often forget the police are just normal people who face problems without knowing what they're going into, and deal with people when they are at their worst, or go after the person you're scared of. And under an adrenaline rush, of course, you can make mistakes, but we all make mistakes at the end of the day. The police are often just a representation of the people, of course. You'll get good and bad ones like everywhere else, and if the police think everyone hates them anyway and they're treated that way automatically, why should they act any differently? Yes, they have a job to do, but they also have a family to go home to as well, and deal with life like any normal person. I have seen many people say, fuck the police, then a week later they call them to sort out a problem they can't fix. I mean, the most used story of the police is, oh, you got bullied at school. I have a story similar, but not exactly this, but let's imagine you have two kids at school, one called Tyrone, and let's say one's called the nice guy. The nice guy was good to the kid while he was in school, where Tyrone took part in the bullying, but later on in life, the nice guy and Tyrone both go down the wrong road. They get stopped on different occasions for a major crime. Now, in this situation is a perfect example of how you never know how your lives can have a ripple effect. In this situation, they have both created either a guardian angel for themselves or a demon, all based on choices they made years ago. Now, this police officer has a choice to slightly manipulate his power to punish someone based on his personal experience on one hand, or let a crime go based on his personal experience. I think these are the kinds of lessons you need to teach your kids, as you never know when a good deed might just be your biggest blessing. Now, a lot of people are very ignorant, whether you like it or not. Having some kind of hold on the criminal world is a must for a government, otherwise it creates a massive security risk for your country. As your enemies, the enemy is your friend. The first source of that is often the criminal underworld within your country. Whether I'm right about that, only time is going to tell, but most countries do this, and I guess it's likely always been that way, but the world is allowed to evolve from this, is what I'm getting towards. Now, let's look at the army on a whole. It's sold as a place where we can make you a man by killing other people, where once you are used enough, you will often suffer from some kind of PTSD. Then forgotten about once you come back from serving, where past veterans have been left, forgetting the sacrifices they have made for their country. We're often men who have been broken by the system, they end up fighting for it, then fight for a government that often never repays its servicemen accordingly. World War II veterans are ashamed of the lives that were lost on the battlefield in World War II, after seeing the state of the country we live in now. This brings me to the fact that the Jewish community was saved during World War II by thousands of non-Jewish people, who without their sacrifice could have meant many more Jews would have died during that war. I find it strange how during World War II, Russia lost almost half of all the people who died during that war, and now we are in a situation where Russia are considered the enemy of the West.